6 days later, we arrive at Wednesday, March 27th, Main Kirka Horum 9, in their holy place, Praga. And I don't know why they're, because last day was Thursday, the 21st. So, I don't know why it's 6 days now instead of 7, but this is from A True and Faithful Relation of What Passed for Many Years Between Dr. John Dee and Some Spirit, 1659. And this is, of course, an 1585 account. Edward Kelly came to me and asked me the circle or copy thereof, which was shown to him at Oxford. And he had written out or described by the light that was showed unto him by the spiritual creature. He intended, as he said, to show it to a Jesuit, and to ask his counsel of it, and so on, having a great misliking of our spiritual friends, saying that they were the great devils, and so the lesser that he dealt with all before gave place unto them, and so on. Hereupon I told him I would ask our friends counsel before I delivered anything of theirs to their enemies, and so on. He would presently have it, and with great threats, most terrible and dangerous to me, he willed me to deliver it straightways. And you got that triple dot thing. I, being occupied with writing a letter to the Queen's Majesty, said as soon as I had leisure, I would give it him. He said he would tarry my leisure. I told him that would scarce be this 7 night. I had so many letters to write. He thereupon grew in such a rage that he said I should not pass 1 foot beyond him before I deliver it him. That triple dot thing. At length he rose to shut the door of the study upon me. I arose and went after him, and took him by the shoulders to keep him from the door, and withal called aloud to my folks, Come here, how? Here is violence offered unto me. Whereupon they came, in all, and my wives, and my wife. And so afterward, by degrees, his fury assuaged, and my folks, my wife, and his went away. And after he had sitten 2 or 3 hours with me, he saw on my head, as I sat writing, Michael stand with a sword, and willed him to speak, which he did forbear to do. Above a quarter of an hour, as Edward Kelly said, at length he spake much as followeth. Edward Kelly said, Here appeareth Michael on your head, and hath bid me divers times to speak to you. Dee said, I dispose myself to write, and Michael bade bring the stone. Edward Kelly said, Here appear 12 with him, 4 behind him, and 4 on each side of him, 4. And with all swords of fire, and he, the hindermost of them, had a barrel of glass on his back, full of fire. The 12 were all in red coats. So, red-coated ones, and so 20 entities. Now, can you, if they're the unfallen angels, you're supposed to just do God's bidding. You can't, command them. And people will say that, of course, the highest blasphemy here, not the calling up of demons, but that a person can, command the angels, like, God or something. The entity known as Michael said, the prophet, Nunc ergo natum facamus domine rex, quo eniam se Civitas hac edificata fioret eo ipsias macillata fiorent descensus tibi non erit coelo Syrium neca in Phonicum. And it says 3rd Esdras chapter 3. Edward Kelly said, they all kneel down about him. They look pitifully with their faces upward as though they were praying. They be in blood-red garments, and Michael, his sword, is as the sword I once did see him have, whose edge did open. Edward Kelly said, now answer me to the purpose, whether I shall have the circle of letters, which I did desire. And in the margin, we're going to have one man, Edward Kelly, Veritas, 2nd Esdras, chapter 4, 33, and so on. An apt squire sanctified note. Note the manner of justice. Before we get into that, so singing forever the mercies of God, despite any anger, and purifying of the heart, and wanting mercy instead, and the mysteries of Krakow with Stephen, the consolation and peace and mercy of God be upon him. Basically, he has no intent to neglect or displease him. Talking about the Pymander of Hermes Trismegistus. By listening, once the plague is not going to have the thing. They're referring to the blood of Jesus and all that. 30 heirs govern the earth, 12 kings, tribes of Israel. The book of Enoch mentions evil beings. 12 kings. You don't let your heart get hardened with sin. And the second coming is not going to be in Phoenicia or Syria, according to this. And, talking about the book of Revelation and the white horse. And I'm not seeing the translation of the book of Esdras passage, so one's going to have to look that one up. But the entity called Michael continues here. Is there any like unto thee, O Jehovah? You don't say it with the J sound, Yahweh, in heaven and in earth, and can thy enemies rise up, saying against thee, and shall they stand? O thou, whose look is more terrible unto thy angels than all the fires which thou hast created, either in the bottomless pit, or in the life of all elemental creatures, or above in the heavens, if they were gathered together in one can be terrible to man. Hast thou not made heaven and earth, and hast put thy head nowhere, and thy feet somewhere, because without thee there is not, and without thee there cannot be. O thou that hast numbered the stars, and art dominans dominatium above those that govern them, and more in knowledge than their government. Thou wilt thou suffer thy name to be trodden under foot, wilt thou correct the heavens and the whole seed of man? Wilt thou drown the world with waters, and root the wicked from the face of the earth? Wilt thou cast down the loathsome and wicked cities, that they may grow in the terror of thy judgment? Wilt thou send so many plagues unto Egypt? Wilt thou suffer all those things to be done, and many more memorable, which are all in thee, and thou permit one man, one soul, to be thus carried away with Satan to the dishonoring and treading under foot of thee, and thy light of thee and thy truth? If the king exalted him which magnified truth before the strength and policy of women, extolled him before his princes, and caused for his sake the building of this temple to go forward, wilt thou not punish him that despiseth truth, that preferreth the wantonness and voluptuousness of the world, that errant strumpet before thy word, and before the strength of a heavenly authority? Art thou so become a little one, that thou art less than a king? Hast thou turned thy face so far aside that thou seest not this rebellion? Can one man be dearer unto thee than the whole world was? Or shall the heavens be thrown headlong down, and shall he go uncorrected? Hast thou mountains and stones untrodden on, out of the which thou canst show thy praise and honor? Are there not yet infants which may be sanctified to speak with the heavens, that thou so hidest thyself away from justice? What if those that often cry for grace receive it not? Yet dost thou give it unto him that cometh from it. Sein stupor qualis eo stupor terras. What, are not so many fires as wait upon me sufficient to arm Satan with vengeance against this wicked one, O thou beast? And in between the two lines, we have the triangle for D. O thou roaring lion, O thou monster, O thou whirlpool, O thou terrible murderer. Edward Kelly is talking to now. Hast thou placed headlong many thousands into hell, and dost thou linger to rage upon this imp, whom thou hast so long sought for? It is not written, lest peradventure he find them steeping, and so overcome them. But behold, whom thou findest sleeping is ready for thee, willing to go with thee. What sparest thou? Art thou so bold to give authority unto thy ministers, to confound, nay, so blind that thou canst not see so great an hill? Behold, thy ministers cry out unto thee, and send thee word, calling thee Master King. Take heed the city be not built, take heed the walls of it be not lifted up. And as they were the messengers of the king, made evident before his face that it was against his commodity to have the temple of the Lord built up, and to have the city new shapen, to have the walls made